anyway. So some of our panelists are gonna come up and talk for a little bit, but at the end, I have all of the questions that you submitted when you RSVP'd, and so they're gonna answer any questions that you might have right now or that you submitted to us before. So first, I'm gonna introduce up Paola Torres.
Hace calor. I don't know how many of you speak Spanish, but I just said it's pretty hot here. Yeah. Okay. Well, Cassie already introduced me. I'm an instructor here at MSU. I teach Spanish. It's one of my passions for students, to learn a foreign language. I think it opens so many doors to explore the world and to learn so much about other people and put ourselves in the shoes of others. When we speak another language, we not only learn a different culture, but we learn the experience of another human from their perspective. That said, one of my passions, like Cassidy's mentioned, is education. And when I came to the United States, I already had a degree back home, but I realized that it was not useful here. So I had to start again, right? I had to enroll in college. I had to go through the whole process of being accepted. And I realized really quickly how difficult it was if I didn't speak the language. And that kind of showed me that a person that comes to Bozeman, or to the United States in general, to an area like this, that is, predominantly white, and you don't have the skill to speak the native language of the place, you are missing so many opportunities. There's so many things that you are not gonna be able to achieve just because you cannot communicate. That is one of the reasons that pushed me to seek other people that are also trying to work for the Hispanic community and work to create Bella, which is a summer camp actually it's a pilot program that we ran this past summer. And we did it along with Ellen Gedler, who, she works so hard for the students that come to Bozeman without the skills of speaking English. Bella was, again, this pilot project. What we're trying to do with Bella is to give students K5, it was at the beginning, I think we may change it to K4 at the end, but you will give these students, younger students, the opportunity to create community in Bozeman. If you are not from Bozeman, you understand that creating community here is pretty hard. Bozeman is this one place that we all love. It's amazing. We love the mountains. We love the activities. But it's really hard to make connections with people. And it is very isolating. Now imagine that without speaking the language. Now imagine that as a kid who has drastically moved from one place that is completely different to here. So that is the idea behind Bella, is to give these kids the community, to also work with these kiddos on developing their skills so they could perform at school. Put yourself in the shoes of a little one, or just right now, when you show up to a class and it's your first, I don't know, what do you study, but it's your first day in class and the professor goes and gives you a quiz right away. What do you think? You're like, well, I was not prepared and I have no idea what's happening. As far as I know, my professor is speaking a different language. That is every day for these students. That creates so many, emotional distress, so much trouble for these students. They cannot perform as expected. And they themselves, that hurts their self-esteem. Bella was this beautiful project that we run giving them the chance to, again, work on their English, create community, and bring MSU students in to help us deliver the curriculum. Cassidy was one of our coaches, and I think she can tell that the relationship that she created with some of the people, or some of the kids that she worked with, are still intact. So she's still in contact with some of the students that we had in that camp, which is amazing. Not only that a student has a role model, excuse my weird English, but like, not only that a student has a role model, but like Cassidy was able to learn from their experience and also practice her Spanish. So it's a win-win for everybody. Let's see, what else? So Bella also involved the parents of these students. Parents were able to attend an open house, and we were able to meet them. These parents are, like any parent, they're wanting to give their children a better future. That's why they come here. And you could tell how thankful they were and how happy they were that all these people in the community are invested on creating the best case scenario for these students, for their kids. I think that is all I have to say about Bella. If you want to be involved, I can give you more information. We're going to look for coaches for this summer. Yeah.
And then, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do questions for all of the panelists at the end. But up next is Ellen, who has a presentation for you. There we go.
Great. Good evening, and thank you all for coming. My name's Ellen Gettler, and I am so excited to share how our community has stepped up to the plate and really started to rise to the occasion to support this new and diversifying community that is joining us, and that is our Latinx community. I want to start by sharing with you how our numbers have grown in the last few years. I just started in 2015, but we had less than 100 in 2014-15, and I think we're up to like 95 by the end of the year 2015-16, and then it started jumping. And as you can see, we've just gone through the roof in the last couple of years, and we're starting the year now with more than we ended the year with, and that's not considering, graduation, dropout, moving, and there is about a 30% rate of either movement over the course of the year, because our English learners are a highly mobile population just because of the struggles in this economy. So as you can see, our community is diversifying and it's growing, and I'm here today to ask for your help and support, especially those of you who speak Spanish, because we have wonderful opportunities to involve you in really welcoming and nurturing the folks who are truly building our community and helping our community grow economically and in other ways. And by all of us supporting our English learners, we can give back and truly integrate them in a really healthy and loving way into our community. So I'd like to start by sharing that we 73% of our current 236 English learners are Latinx. So 40% are of Mexican heritage, and many of those have been here for many years. Their families are established, they have jobs. They're kind of like considered the oldsters in the Latinx community. They're grounded here. 38% are new Honduran arrivals, and they are here new as of the last couple years. And the construction boom in Big Sky in here, and family members who worked in Big Sky initially was the draw. And our hotel and restaurant industry also brings them here. And what's unique about the Honduran immigrants is many of them are coming from difficult times in their homeland. And so they're coming with interrupted education, different levels of primary language fluency and literacy. And so they're unique challenges. that we are stepping up to the plate and supporting to ensure that they are successful as well. And that's where many of our opportunities that I'm going to share tonight lie. We also have a mix of about 22% of other Central and South American countries. And together that makes up, it's 73% of our total English learner populations are Latinx. What I want to share is that they are as diverse as any other group in the United States. It's not a monolith by any means, and each of them brings their own unique cultures, education, their own backgrounds, traditions, and it's really awesome to be a volunteer and work with them because you get to experience that as well. So I'd like to share a little bit about how Bozeman Public Schools is stepping up to the plate with the support of our community to really begin. We're taking baby steps, but we're heading in the right direction to address to grow infrastructure to truly support our immigrant student populations. First of all, in the last 2 years, we have started 2 Newcomer English learner programs, one at Sacagawea Middle School and one at Gallatin High. And this year there's 16 students in each of them, and those are level 1 and 2 students who came from interrupted education backgrounds, who do not speak English when they came over. Many are, just literally came over the border and were reunited with extended family members here. And we're working on, the very basic level 1 English. So they have unique needs. They can't be just thrown into a classroom. So I'm so proud that our district has stepped up to the plate with an FTE teacher to also support those 2 new EL beginner programs. And I'm so grateful because 2 years ago, about 20 families showed up on my doorstep the first day of school, not 2 weeks before school, but the first day of school, and with flip-flops and shorts because they had just come over from Honduras. And I was so grateful to Tina and Tim Bisher, Amanda, Heather, and Peter Hughesby, who showed up in my office and said, hey, we hear you have needs, how can we help? That was the seed group who started the Bienvenidos Adult Mentor Program 2 years ago. And currently today we have over 77 adult volunteers, and they're in the process of becoming a nonprofit so that we can really support these families. The Bienvenidos they do a needs assessment, they support families with medical care, transportation to appointments, everything you can imagine, helping their families with English, working with the adults to help them understand the culture, navigate the myriad of cultural issues that they confront when they move here as an English learner. And so this group has been huge and instrumental, and Amanda's going to talk about that specifically. I'm also so grateful to Paola, Bridget Cavane, and Elizabeth Williamson of the World Language Initiative of Montana, because they took on raising grant funds. And as Paola mentioned, she was the director of that entire summer school camp to really support our level 1 and 2 English learners, to help them, build community, like she said, feel a sense of acceptance and love. And while we're trying to step into the daunting task of learning a foreign language, many of these students have interrupted education and are not necessarily have literacy skills in their primary language. So, not only are they learning oral language and learning their alphabetics and their 6 components of reading, they're just trying to acclimate to the reality of formalized school and a public school system in a foreign land, in a foreign language, in a different culture. So as Paola so aptly shared, it is trauma. Many of these children are traumatized. So whatever we can do as a community to support them is fantastic. So my hat's off to them because they raised the $50,000 or I think it was about $40,000 to help run the summer school program. I'm also so grateful, and you'll also be hearing from Isabella, our community has stepped up. The Thrive people who run the parent liaisons and many other quality parenting classes in the community have given us an extra Thrive parent liaison, and she is my absolute angel. She is our bilingual parent liaison. So that took a lot of the socio-emotional issues off of my plate, and she can more aptly support them with her background in psychology. We also have a wonderful MSU tutoring program. Galen and Bridget Cavane, and Carrie, who's sitting right over there, is my absolute angel because she is a retired ELD specialist from Maryland, and she has literally volunteered practically full-time since September, coordinating the 20-plus volunteers at Highlight School who volunteer in the independent study program offered by Galen Brokaw, Professor Brokaw. So our community is stepping up to the plate to really begin to serve the needs of this growing population, and I'm so grateful. We also have ongoing teacher professional development trainings to help teachers, and that's kind of my field as well, to support teachers in helping children via sheltered instruction and culturally competent instructional strategies in the classroom. So as you can see on the educational forefront, we are finding our path, but it takes a community to really embrace and support at the level of need that these students have. And we're so grateful to all of our educational partners, and I invite all of you, if you feel called to it, to join us in this venture. I also want to move on and acknowledge some community resource partnerships that have developed that have been critical for our immigrant population's acclimation to Bozeman. In terms, as you all know, housing is a major issue here. Now imagine if you don't have a credit card, you don't have a work history, you have no references. The housing crunch has just, and with COVID, it's just been almost unbearable. Right now, the McKinney-Vento is a title program funded by the federal government to support homeless families. And currently we have 47 English learner families in that program. 7 of them are actually in housing provided by HRDC or Family Promise, but the rest are on the list getting supports at the school level because they're in overcrowded housing. The trailer parks are the only places that will rent to most of our EL families. So there could be 2, sometimes 3 families in a single wide or a double wide. The crunch in housing is a major issue. So I'm so grateful to all of these. I just started one of my high school students in Blueprint adolescent housing this last week because she lost her housing and has no family members here that can take care of her. So as you can see, that community resource and partnership has really kept many of our English learner families off the street. They are the hardest working families you can ever imagine. It's just that there's no place for them to live, and that's something I think HRDC and all of these folks in this first bullet are working to try to figure out a way forward. There's a lot of obstacles, and the issues are very complex around housing, but hopefully we're making headway, and no one has ended up on the street as of yet. I also want to acknowledge community health partners. They are a sliding fee scale community partner who helps most of our EL families with immunizations, medical checks, antibiotics, dental things. Love Inc. has been instrumental. It's it's an agency of all Christian denominations in the Valley, and they donate clothing and furniture. And they deliver it to our families when they finally do get a house or a trailer. We're also grateful to Thrive, especially for providing Isabella, because that has taken a huge load off of my back. The Gallatin Food Bank has been huge because they are actually delivering food or helping provide food for many of our families are food insecure. So that's a huge support, so they're ready to learn. Montana Language Services, Kindle, has offered a ton of legal support and donated a ton of time with translation for us. And I want to put a big shout out to the Gallatin Health Department, to Wick and Liz and our promotoras. They're nurses who visit our EL families and provide a birth pre-K support system for mothers and small children, and they'll visit them in their homes, and they help with vaccinations. The Gallatin Health Department has just been phenomenal. I also want to acknowledge that the Montana Racial Equity Project, just this last month, it was like Christmas in October, they had $30,000 that they distributed to our English learners who were impacted by COVID. And as you know, you all maybe, unless you're living on campus, know that prices for housing, everyone's rents are going up. So our folks who are working 2 jobs, struggling, they were able to get a little extra money, $600 a family in pocket to help with rent and gas and electricity, and all those things are going up. So these community partners have literally been instrumental in helping us embrace our hardworking immigrant population who are filling the jobs that we literally cannot fill in our Bozeman community. So I am so grateful for them, and I'm so proud of our community stepping out and embracing this challenge, because it is a challenge. It's not easy. So today I'm really here to say I want to encourage all of you to be partners with our program as well. If you're called to work with children and interested, we have community volunteer opportunities through schools. And actually on the way out, Carrie, my angel, is going to be passing out this list. And I just want to share, we have opportunities to join the Bienvenidos group. You can do tutoring. We also have opportunities for tutors at different age groupings, and I won't go into all of them, but I do want to point out that MSU offers credits for your volunteer work in the schools, and you will get 4 hours of ESL or English learner instructional training on best strategies if you choose to sign up with Professor Galen Brokaw or Professor Bridget Cavane, and their next semester's classes are listed there if you would like to earn some credit and be trained in how to work and teach children English. So that's it for me today, but I just want to end by saying that Bozeman is grateful for our diversifying community. They're filling an incredibly important role that were they not here, we couldn't function as a community. I mean, our lack of our employment need is so much greater than we have employees for, that they are filling an important role in our community. And I'm excited that our district is stepping up to the plate, our community stepping up to the plate, and our community agencies are there with open arms. So I am excited about the future of our EL community and the diversity that's coming our way. And I invite you to embrace it and help me make this an awesome, and all of these folks, a really awesome, productive program in our future. Thank you.
Okay, so next in our order, we're going to have Amanda to talk about Bienvenidos.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here and talk with you. Ellen already gave you a little bit of information about Bienvenidos, but I want to go into the weeds a little bit more. About 1.5 years ago, Ellen called a member of the Quaker group and Unitarians and said, "I'm swamped. We've got to help. We have all these families here. They need clothing. They need help finding housing. They need everything." And so at that point, a small group of us formed this group called Bienvenidos. And after 1.5 years, we are in the process of becoming a 501c3. We have approximately 20 families now that we are mentoring, and we do this in teams, so that there are usually 2 or 3 people working with each family, one of whom needs to be a Spanish speaker. But other people can provide transportation, can help get food from the food bank if the family doesn't have transportation, things like that, where they don't necessarily have to speak Spanish. How many of you in here are Spanish speakers? Oh, great. Okay. We'll be looking for you. I wanted to give you an idea of what the vision statement is for Bienvenidos. It says, "We envision a Gallatin Valley which is welcoming, safe, and supportive of migrants and celebrates their contributions and diversity." And those of you that have been here for any amount of time know that that is sometimes not the current situation. Our mission statement is to welcome and help integrate new Spanish-speaking migrants and their families. We provide mentoring, communication, advocacy, and coordination with other community organizations. And that's probably one of our best things that's just happened this last year. Every other Wednesday, about 10 agencies within the community meet together on Zoom and share what they are doing to help migrant families. They talk about what problems exist and how those could be addressed by the various agencies. And these are groups like HRDC, Family Promise, Community Health Partners, the Food Bank, Child Care Connections, Thrive, World Language Institute, Haven. Chris Coburn is there from the City Council, and Loving, as Ellen mentioned, and I've probably forgotten some of them. But this kind of communication had not been going on in the past. And so that is a very important aspect of what Bienvenidos has brought to the table. If you are interested in working as a mentor in Bienvenidos, your role becomes friend, coach, guide, English tutor, problem solver or help problem solving, providing transportation, building capacity in the family to access the resources that are here, because there are good resources here. But one of the things that's come up in this interagency meeting is if a family calls some city agency, there's nobody there that speaks Spanish. And the documents are not in Spanish. And so that's one of the things that we have brought to the table. We've said you've got to have a Spanish speaker, or at least get your documents in Spanish so our families know what you can provide for them and they can access that. Because as a mentor, I don't want to have to be doing that kind of interpretation all the time. It's important for them to learn how to access those resources. If you are interested in becoming a mentor, you can leave your name with me or with Bridget. She would get that information to me. We have an orientation program. It happens just sort of sporadically. It depends on how many people we have that want to be trained. We have specific guidelines for working with families. We never ask families their legal status. We don't ask them how they got here. We don't ask anything about their past history. What we're concerned about is now you're here, here's how we're going to help you survive in this community. We have specific boundary lines and questions for mentors to think about themselves, such as how much time do you think you could spend helping a family? Because some of our mentors have felt like if they just worked a little bit harder, they could fix whatever it was, and they end up spending 10 or 15 hours working on something and then realize they're totally burned out and they don't really want to continue with it. And so we're trying to help people recognize ahead of time where they need to set their own boundaries. For example, my family, she wanted me to take her to Walmart every weekend. And I took her a couple of times, and then I said, you know, I will take you to doctor appointments, to the hospital, whatever you need like that. But you need to ask your husband to take you to Walmart on Sundays when he's not working. I'm not going to do that. And I felt fine about saying that because she has found other ways to get there. And I am still available. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, I'm taking her to the hospital. So that's my role with her. My other role as a mentor is teaching English to some of the young children. And as a former elementary teacher, that's my source of satisfaction, I would say, I guess, is helping kids learn English and learn to read and learn to add and subtract and multiply and all these skills that they need in the first few grades. And having spent about 20 years trying to learn Spanish myself, I have a very strong recognition of what it takes to learn a foreign language. And so I see these children thrust in situations where somebody's up there like this and they don't have a clue as to what is going on. And so of course they tune out. And so if I can tutor, if I can mentor, in addition to what's happening in the classroom, I'm happy to do that. So we can always use more mentors, especially those of you that speak Spanish. We could use you. It gives you a chance to use your Spanish. And the families are so grateful for your help.
Okay, now we have Isabella, who is going to talk about her role as a parent liaison for Thrive.
I know, it's a weird presentation.
And then your videos are just behind here. Your videos are just, oh wait, they're pulled up. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Hi everyone. As I was introduced, my name is Isabela Romero, and I've been here in Bozeman for about 3 years. And first of all, I want to thank every one of you for being here for an hour of your time. I know it's not easy, especially if you're studying, it's hard. But yeah, thank you all for coming and helping us build like the community that is building in Bozeman, especially around the Hispanic community. And well, so first of all, I want to say I arrived here about 3 years ago, and I came here as a J1. I don't know if any of you are familiar with those types of visas. So I came here in a program that was work and travel. So in my summer breaks, I would come here and snowboard and work up in Big Sky. And I just thought this place was the coolest thing in the world, like mountains and snow. And then I just graduated and I was like, I'm gonna try summer here. And it was amazing. I mean, we guys are in like the most beautiful place I've ever been. And I've been to a lot of places, and this has been like one of like my top. And well, I did have an advantage though. I was able to communicate with everybody here. I was able to connect in a deeper way than maybe the families that are arriving. And I just felt so at home and so welcomed. And I even like broke my arm and I didn't have any kind of insurance, and CHP saved my life basically. They helped me like connect with resources and be able to have surgery. So I'm so thankful for all the resources, and now I'm using this bilingual superpower to help my community here. I'm a proud Latin member here, and I just want to help them now. And hopefully everybody here has the same interest in me. And well, I want to start by asking you guys, what do you guys already know about the Latin community? Can you guys tell me anything about tradition or art or anything? Has anybody here been into South America? Okay, cool. Do you guys have anything to tell me what you learned over there?
I love the jungle.
Nice. What part were you in?
I was in Costa Rica.
Oh, nice. Okay, amazing. Anybody else can tell me anything about maybe how families structure in South America? No? Okay, well, I'll go ahead and let you know because I grew up in one. So families in South America are very archetypical. Like roles are very established. Like the mom has a certain role, the dad has a certain role, and kids stay within the household until we're like 29. I remember my brother left my house when he was like 29. It's super common in Peru to live like with our parents until we're like very old. And typically families tend to move together. So right now, if you ever like get in touch with any families here from the Latin community, they're probably here with their cousin, their aunt, their little cousin, and like all their families, they move together. So that is something very important for them. And just as Ellen was talking, there's a lot of diversity. There's 18 countries that speak Spanish all around the world. And they're all in South America, minus Spain, that is all the way in Europe. But yeah, so we are very diverse and we come from all different backgrounds and places. So how do we build community? So basically community means like enhancing the lifestyle of everybody that lives within the same area. And I feel Bozeman is a very good place at connecting resources and people in order to do that. Most of Hispanic people do not apply to any resources because they're scared and they're afraid that they're not going to be eligible. So it is our job also to communicate to them that they are eligible. So first of all, these are some simple actions that we can all do in our lives when interacting with Hispanic families. So first of all, lead with curiosity. So let them identify themselves. Always ask questions. Like I said, the umbrella term is being Hispanic, but actually like I'm Peruvian and I like saying that I'm Peruvian. I do consider myself Hispanic because that is like the common denomination here in the United States. But I would say, like, if you ever encounter somebody, be like, oh, hey, where are you from? Like, you can travel the world without leaving Bozeman just by being curious and asking questions about their culture, where they're from, what are they about. And well, okay, the second one is to establish productive relationships. Is always build on the respect Hispanic communities have for family. Just as I mentioned before, they tend to move in groups, and they tend to move like in large groups of family. And for them, that is like the closest knit they'll ever have. And that's why it's very important for you to have that in the back of your head when you're interacting with anybody from a single household. And the third one is direct contact. So face-to-face communication, especially when there is like some kind of language barrier, is going to be a lot more fruitful than anything else. Like you get visual demonstration, you get eye contact, you get tone of voice. So if you can like encourage a face-to-face interaction, I know like masks are super hard right now to establish any kind of interaction, but it's always recommended when you're interacting with somebody that doesn't speak your same language. So let's talk a little bit about our schools. Ellen also talked a little bit about what is going right now in the school district. So currently we have over 200 Spanish-speaking students. I think we're about like at 230 right now. And we do not have a Newcomer program to support their English learning, which makes the kid adapt slower. So kids that come from different countries, they tend to come with one single parent, and they leave that other support system back home. So this kid that is coming here, the emotions that he's having, they're afraid, they're frustrated, they're angry, they are low motivated, they have all of this like negative feelings in this like tiny little person because they don't feel safe, and they're not understanding anything that the teacher is saying to them. And that's why also EL students have the highest rate of absenteeism. They don't feel motivated to go to school. Emotional safety is provided like through communication and touch. And that is something that can come into place as what I'm about to ask you guys as becoming CAP mentors possibly in schools. But yeah, so making schools a safe and secure place for them to calm down is the place that they're gonna be spending the majority of their time besides home. So how can we serve our youth? So I'm going to show you guys a little story about Miss Ariel Todd. She's a kindergarten teacher, and she had a little Honduran kid that had gone through a lot of trauma crossing the border. And with all the support with different resources and volunteers, we got this student to be happily in school. So I'm going to show you guys. Oh, I think the video was already open. How do we do the volume here? Okay. Cool. Okay, now we go. Is it? Oh, it's in your computer, so you can do it.
Teacher here in Bozeman School District, and I'm excited to be here.
No?
I wonder if you put the mic.
Let's see. Okay, let's see. Can I hear it?
Hi, I'm Ariel Todd. I'm a kindergarten teacher here in Bozeman School District, and I'm excited to be here. Oh, it just breaks my heart to be a teacher with a child who's just experienced such trauma and can't even sometimes explain it in their own language. And I feel so helpless starting out. Like, just that helplessness is just so deep, because that communication, it does reach over barriers of language. But starting out, we just gotta be okay with the little wins, because right now I'm feeling such successes with having her joining us with our class. She's actively participating throughout most of the day. She's excited to share her language with us, and we're excited to learn words of her language as well. And she's starting to be adventurous and start saying English words too. And so seeing that blossoming from this tiny, like, shriveled up flower into a blooming child is something pretty special. So this particular child did not want to be in school, did not want to step foot in school. And so at the initial time that we got this student in with us, the student was sobbing and kicking and screaming and just wailing in the hallway. And it was a full-on heartbreaking, just upset episode, and it would last sometimes for almost hours, I think. And we saw from, that was like our first point A to, and then we kind of like, okay, we need to do baby steps here. And so we just had that child coming for just little bits of time and just stretching it just a little bit longer every day. Our goal is to get her here and have her here happily, that she wants to be here. Then we'll get on the train of academics later. And we're still a long ways out from that, but all of those little supports build up, and that scaffolding really makes a strong level for her to start out. Any support that you get, like fabulous volunteers, take them and have them come and join in with you and just be a part of the class with you, and just be that friend's little buddy next to you too was really, really helpful to have so many people to join our class. So in supporting a child that has gone through a significant amount of trauma, a couple things that I intentionally did is I always gave that child the opportunity to receive hugs, but I never forced a hug. Band-aids for the kiddos who got injured, and I would specifically put them on that student, just so they got that personal connection. Sometimes I would use the fabulous support volunteers to stay with the rest of the small group while I honed in on working with that one student just to build a connection. And I think all of those things really helped with a child that is going through severe trauma. It's not easy, and we're at the point of this child is here all day, every day at school. She has still gotten some supports with like help getting to school with a wonderful volunteer, but she's happy, she's adjusted, she has a friend group, she's never playing alone at recess, and she went from half days to full days in between there, and she got to see a little snippet of the afternoon, and she's like, oh yeah, I want to be here for the rest of this. And so we've gone from full out episodes of just traumatic sobbing to delighted skipping in the hallway, excited to be here points. So it's been really beautiful to see.
Well, I hope you guys were able to hear that video. So that was a really beautiful story that I got to experience firsthand, and it was really nice to be.
Drive so fast. It's dry.
Okay, sorry about that. So this was a very beautiful story that I got to see firsthand, and it was really not a solo effort of the teacher. She was definitely amazing, but she got a lot of help from volunteers, from people that were able to connect with her in her own language, and that was really beautiful to see. I know parents come here with their child looking for to succeed and to have economical stability, but our support is also to open their mind that well-being is more than just being economically stable, and there's a lot of resources to help them achieve that. So now guys, I really want to invite you and encourage you guys to become CAP mentors. So it means being a CAP mentor for Thrive means 1 hour of your time impacting a child's life. It is only during school time, and it's only an hour during the week. And you get to ignite a child's potential within an hour of your time. And if we're talking exclusively about EL kids, because this is a support for any kind of kid that needs support, but exclusively for kids that speak only Spanish, you'll be able to connect in ways deeper than his or her own peers are able to connect right now, or even the teacher. You'll be able to sit with them and create an emotional connection for this kid to start being motivated at school, to have something to look forward to come into school and hang out with you, and you can be a positive role model in their life, someone they can aspire to become, something that you can tell them about your stories in university, and they can start dreaming about that for themselves. So I feel that is very powerful and important in just an hour of your time each week. And if you want to be matched specifically with a Spanish student, the contact is there, Maria Malloy, and you can also find her in our allthrive.org website. And well, this was a little video about becoming a CAP mentor, but in this video it's basically kids saying like how much their mentors have impacted them, how much they look forward of that 1 hour a week, and how much they progress and how much like they feel school is now a safe environment for them. And that is something very powerful when you're dealing with kids that feel trauma and that they don't feel welcome in this new world. And you being there for them as a solid support could potentially change like their school experience. Another way that you can support Thrive is also becoming a coach in our leadership programs. We have Girls on the Run and Let Me Run. So if you guys like want to support, not like specifically committing to a single child, you can also become a coach in leadership programs. And well, finally, like some ways that you can all connect with Hispanic families is, first of all, look for engagement. Like if you see a Hispanic family in the park or whatnot, like say hi to them, like even from afar. If you have any kind of connections, like try to invite them to different events or recreations around the community. That makes you also an active member of this community. Well, we also talk about becoming like a tutor. If you think you're capable of that, we're also going to launch adult English classes next year, and we're welcoming anybody that wants to become a tutor, an English tutor for adults or even for kids. You can do that if you think you're capable and willing. And also knowing all the helpful resources that we have in town. We have plenty of beautiful and amazing resources and people ready to help. And if you kind of want to know what resources are around, you can contact any of us and find out more information. And yeah, well, thank you so much for listening, and hopefully we'll see you guys around in this Spanish community here. And well, thank you for being here.
Okay, I know we have one panelist that has to head out kind of early, and so whenever that's necessary. But I want to give you guys a little bit of background, and then we're going to do questions. So yes. Yeah, okay, go for it.
How's it going, guys? We've been for an hour sitting, so can we all just get up a little bit and just like shake a little bit our bodies? Can you give yourself a little massage, like shoulders, and toca las nalgas, and like this, shake a little. For real, guys, I'm looking at you. Come on. That's one cultural difference right there. Okay, thank you. Take a seat, friends. I don't know. I didn't prepare a talk, and 406 Circ is not specifically focused on the Latinx community. We have a focus on children now in the Circle School of Bozeman. I just want to say a couple of things that well, first of all, my gratitude for each member of the panel for what you're doing for the Latinx community of Bozeman. I'm just going to say some things that for many of you are going to be obvious and very obvious, but just I feel the need to say these things. I'm a faculty member here, and I was sharing with my students like, hey, there's this panel about diversity. What do you want me to talk about? And I'm like asking questions, and one student was like, why did you come so far north? And I was like, I mean, it's not that I came walking, you know? Yeah, this is 2021. And the stories behind migration are so different from person to person, you know? It's not that everybody who came, I say this with love and respect. It's not that everybody who came to the US came like looking for a better future, you know? Not necessarily. Like the stories of migration are, first of all, ingrained in our DNA as humans. There's one person in your family who came to the US as an immigrant. That's one thing that, sorry, I don't have like a beginning or end. It's just all these thoughts that I feel that I need to say here. And yeah, I mean, the way I came to Bozeman was super serendipitous. I was supposed to do a collaboration in NYU, and the professor who brought me to the US called me 10 days before my trip and said, actually, we're not gonna collaborate in New York. I have to have urgent surgery, and I'm gonna be recovering in my hometown. What's your hometown? It's called Bozeman, Montana. I was like, oh my gosh. Long story short, I have a kid here, and I started the circus school because that's my passion. And I think something very important also to say to you guys, if you find your passion and you get to make a living out of your passion, hang on to it, because that's life that's gonna pour from you guys. So after a while living that adventure here in the US, I felt that I was gonna go crazy, because I was like, I don't wanna be a builder or a landscaper. So I started the circus school. It's just, and that my story is just one of thousands of stories of migration, you know. I also wanted to ask you, I have a big background in dance, and there's this master called Steve Paxton, who did contact improvisation, and he has this big quote. He said, I started doing dance because it completed my development as a human being. And I feel that you guys are so privileged, and many of you don't know it. You have this beautiful blue passport waiting to be stamped. You need to take this passport and travel the world with it, you know? That's very important. I don't know how to compel you to do that. Each of my students, Cassie, you were one student, you know that spiel. It's like the things that you're gonna learn by traveling are things that you're only gonna learn traveling. And you're gonna get so much perspective about the world, you know? And you get to call people of the world your brothers and sisters, you know? And these people that is migrating that happen to be Latino, it's like this brother, this sister is going through this adaptation process, and I'm gonna just be there for them. But what can this community do for you also? It will open your perspective about the world. It will maybe give you a sense of belonging that extremely weird you don't find in your own community. It will open your horizon, and it will surprise you, because life is surprise. You need to take your own pathway in your hands, you know, and sometimes, you know, maybe it's one of these volunteer opportunities that is gonna change your life today. I don't know, I've been working in many countries with refugees, and I can tell you one thing: children are resilient. Children go through lots of stuff, and they always thrive. They always thrive. And in a big part is for people like these women sitting here. I want to really ask for a round of applause for this. And to many of you guys, if you really want to participate, it's like don't stay like, oh, that was interesting. Really reach out, guys, because this community is not so small. It's not so small. I don't know, I just felt the need to say those things. I'm more interested in the Q&A, but yeah, thank you.
Okay, so a lot of you submitted questions when you RSVP'd, and I have those ready to ask, but if any of the audience members now have really pressing questions that they would like to ask the panelists, go ahead, and hopefully we can do it from the table without a microphone. So does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay.
I have one. So like in lots of communities that maybe have had a Latinx community for longer, there's a kind of unifying organization that in, you know, I don't want to say represents the community, but that can like coordinate for the community. Do you guys see that emerging in Bozeman?
There is one. Yeah, there is one. Mija is one group that started by a Latino woman called Susie Rodriguez. And I will call her like the godmother of all Latinos here in Bozeman. She knows every single person, and she's kind of like early on when this community was growing. She's the one that started contacting each family and providing what we're trying to do, like translation services, like help with like English classes and whatnot. So that is one that sometimes we even like to refer to because she knows everyone, or like the group itself knows everyone. And then aside from that group, I think like we're creating a coalition of like people that want to help. These guys mentioned a lot of community members that are working towards the same goal, which is making every person feel welcome in this community. I hope I answered your question.
One of the questions that got submitted for all the panelists is how can we gear the ways we interact and utilize language towards building connection and in this community? And are there specific dangers or challenges in communication to be aware of? I feel like all of our panelists talked about communication in some way or another, and so I'm interested to hear the panelists' perspectives on this question.
All I would say is that our Latinx community is so thrilled when someone looks them in the eye, and if you could say, hola, ¿cómo está? And just be friendly with them. That's a first step, I think. And I think some of the points that were on the slideshow that Isabella mentioned, getting to know them, I think that's huge. That would be really huge, because some of them feel like they're on the fringe, and if they're acknowledged every day, like, hey, how's it going, just in the store in English or Spanish, I think they feel more integrated into our community.
From my perspective, I think it's normal to make mistakes when speaking like a foreign language. So if you want to use your Spanish to connect with somebody, go for it. Don't be afraid. That's the idea of learning, that you're going to make mistakes, and trust me, we're all going to forgive them. Like, I don't think there's a Spanish speaker that is going like, your grammar was wrong, you shouldn't say that. That is not a thing. I mean, people don't do that to me, and you've listened to me, so.
I have this image that I share with my students when I teach Spanish. It's like there's two people separated by a bridge, and in the middle of above the bridge, there's a huge storm. And the bridge is muddy, and it's like kind of catastrophic, and one of the two people has to cross the bridge to meet the other. After this person crosses the bridge, how can this person say, oh, you're muddy and wet? And like, I'm talking about, like, you're making this effort to speak a different language. I think something really cool when you're from the US, you speak English, and it's you speaking the other language. That's extremely humbling, and it's gonna make you a more worldly person. It's an act of vulnerability that you're gonna appreciate in the long run. And you're gonna empower that person that like you have no idea, okay? It's really great. Another thing that I wanted to say, because it's like communication amongst cultures and like helping, know your boundaries. That's very important. There's like empathy and communication and being welcoming, that's great. But know your boundaries. That's very important. Some people can be clingy without realizing, Know your boundaries. Know what are your areas of expertise. You're not a therapist. You can redirect people always to community services which exist, and they just don't know that exist. That's very, very important, because like many of the panelists already said, you can develop like fatigue real quick, and then this community is going to lose an ally. Yes?
This next question is for Paola and Isabella. It says, since Bozeman has a very large Caucasian population, do you ever feel underrepresented or that you are considered a token minority? How do you feel that this can be remedied?
Well, I can speak for myself, since I don't look like the typical South American. People tend to be really surprised when they interact with me. I don't feel any kind of offense towards it. I've spoken in Spanish to my best friend outside of a bar, and I've gotten like, speak English, you're in America, comments like that as well. But I don't judge anybody, because we're from all over. Like, we come all from all over, and I feel like my job is to serve people and to educate them and to let them know that we're all here to be in harmony. And that's like my take on it. So I have not felt like an excluded minority, but I also have access to education and language, which I feel like it's not the same for everybody.
Yeah, I agree with Isabella. I think we have the lucky immigrant experience. We got a visa You either have a partner who is a citizen, like in my case, we have a house, we own a house, we create a community here because we speak the language. That is not the case of every migrant. So in that sense, no, I haven't felt discrimination like that, or like I have a friend group that is, all of them are American women, white American women, and I never felt like I'm the token friend, you know, like we are more diverse because she's in the group. Never felt that way. If anything, Bozeman has been extremely welcoming, and maybe that's why I want my experience to be the same experience that other migrants have. Because just like Isabella, when I also biking ended up in the ER, I got a community helping me. I had friends bringing me food, buying my medication, just coming home, coming to my house and helping me, you know, with homework because I couldn't do it because I was ill. Yeah, I know, you're students, I know, you know what I mean. So I want, you know, for all these migrants, especially for the kiddos, to have the same experience.
Okay. This one says, as a Hispanic student at MSU, I struggle with not having a language community. How do you overcome that?
We're all your community. Like, I feel that it's not like about you. If you want to find like people from your same origin and background, that's a different thing. But I feel we should all feel part of the same place. We're all citizens of planet Earth. And I know I have like this utopic kind of way of thinking. But I feel like if you're somebody that are struggling to connect with other people, you can start by like just trying, getting out of your comfort zone and reaching out. Volunteering is a great way how to build community around people that are like-minded. So yeah, I feel it's on you to also like make an effort to connect.
Or look for us.
Look for
We're
us.
pretty fun. We're all free.
There's a pretty general question submitted. Somebody asked, what can I do to promote diversity in Bozeman?
Join one of our many opportunities.
And share your stories about your interactions with people who are different than you. Because so many people who've lived here for a long time, like I have no connection, have no knowledge that there even is a Latinx community here. Unless they go to Walmart at 5 o'clock on Friday, they don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of people is like, oh, Walmart, 5 o'clock.
Kind of, we're all gonna be lining up then.
Okay, do we have any more audience questions?
Is there an organization that helps people get their citizenship?
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, and the Adult Learning Center, if it's housed in the Wilson building, but Joanna Stratman also teaches ESL, but there is ESL support for citizenship classes there and online classes, and the Bienvenidos folks, and I've paired several people with tutors in my past that have done one-on-one tutoring to help them pass the test.
What about the legal help needed?
So MIHA is what's it called? Migrant Montana Immigrant Justice Alliance. They are Susie Rodriguez is a specialist with that.
What they do is they bring lawyers that will help with applications, or they will bring the counselor of the, like the Honduran counselor, or like the Mexican. The Mexican is the one that comes more often, to kind of help with the documentation, like IDs and whatnot. Now, applying for citizenship in general is hard, and applying for citizenship if you are an illegal immigrant, it's much harder. And there is a lot of lawyers that speak Spanish here in Montana, in general. So if you're going for law,
Yeah, right.
But they go to immigration law. We've got, I think there's 3
yeah.
that have to do immigration law. The one in Helena's kind of out of the picture. You've got one in Missoula and one in Billings.
True.
That's
Bienvenidos is trying to develop either a training that we can do for our own local volunteers to at least help people know what the steps are, or to find access to these lawyers that can help. But some of our mentors have driven people as far as Kansas City to go to their court hearing.
Or they usually call lawyers that are in areas like Miami, New York, where there's more, access to bilingual lawyers.
It's really hard. It's very complicated.
Expensive.
Actually, I think the first is best.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it.
Thanks, Amanda.
There's one more question, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. The last question is, if I don't speak Spanish, how can I still get involved and help this community?
There's a whole list of things here. We need people, if you have a truck, we need people to help move furniture for Love Inc. You don't need to speak Spanish to be an English language tutor. There's tutor opportunities, CAP mentor opportunities. Just to let you know, there's a whole list that Kara will be sharing with you.
And also for Bella, you don't have to be a bilingual to be a Bella coach. If you're in MSU and you want to work with kids, and you have the desire to have a different experience in the summer, you're more than welcome. Please apply. We need you because we want to grow and we want to make sure that these kids have access to it, equal access to education. Yeah.
Okay, so just before we wrap up, to give you guys some context on this panel, as Paul mentioned, I was one of his students. And I remember very distinctly on one of my first days of classes, he said that most of the people in Bozeman only ever encounter Spanish speakers at the red taco truck in front of Boot Barn. Ironically, I now work for the people who run the red taco truck in front of Boot Barn. And I've been involved. Paola was my teacher. Ellen, I worked in the Bella program, and she instructed us, and I tutored through her program. Isabella, I met at Bella. Paola, I met at Bella, and I nanny her wonderful son.
Who's bilingual? See, bilingualism is good. Yeah.
And so I was just really interested in promoting, like Isabella had said when I started to reach out to her, the narrative that there are people that speak Spanish in Bozeman, and if you're looking to become and to help this community, they're here and they exist, and all of these people, you can come see them afterwards, have ways in which you can do that. And exactly like Isabella said, it starts with just connecting and being curious. And part of that was coming to this presentation. So I'd like to thank you all. You can give yourselves and our panelists a round of applause.